If a presidential candidate's son was caught influence peddling and taking foreign money in exchange for access, do you think this is a story that the American people should know about?
I think that can be a real issue.
That is of the interest of the American people, whether it's from the left or from the right.
Do you think this specific case, would this disqualify a presidential candidate from running for office?
I mean, I think so, but I don't know if everyone else would think that.
Yeah, I would probably say that's not a good idea to let that person run.
Well, you heard it there. Young voters pretty shocked by reports surrounding Hunter Biden's alleged emails. But is it enough for them to hold Joe Biden accountable at the polls? Campus Reform Correspondent Ophelie Jacobson did those interviews and joins me now with her takeaways. Thanks for being here. Good to see you again.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. What was your biggest surprise when you were conducting these interviews?
Yeah, so this is just another example of the hypocrisy that we've been seeing in students' opinions and beliefs on college campuses today. And at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform, we've seen how students' opinions can contradict themselves and change in just a short 5-minute interview. Yeah. For example, when I asked students if this would disqualify a candidate from running for office, they agreed. But when I told them that it was Joe Biden, you see their answers do a complete 180. And this is because of the liberal bias and indoctrination that our students are receiving in the classroom. They're just going along with what their professors are saying and not receiving both sides of the story. And it shows when their answers contradict themselves.
So where do you think the majority of college students are getting their news? Because, you know, depending on where people get their news, they may or may not know much about this alleged story.
I think a lot of students are getting their news from social media and, again, from their professors who have biased opinions in the classroom. And because of this, students are going to be voting for the name and the party, not necessarily the policies. And this is very dangerous because as the next generation of leaders, our college students need to know how to critically think for themselves. But when they just go along with the biased opinion of their professors and what they're seeing on social media, they're voting for a politician and they don't even know why. Yeah. So in just 13 days, they're going to be heading to the polls with this uninformed belief system.
Yeah, what's interesting about that, you know, you mentioned 13 days left to go. Voter registration organizations broke records on National Voter Registration Day. In 2016, 105,000 registrations. And then in 2020, there were 200,000, even Snapchat registrations, which is just kind of blowing my mind a little bit there. I mean, it's great that young people want to vote, but, you know, you want to make sure they're voting for policies, not just a candidate.
Yes, and I think it's a very exciting time for a lot of college students. They will be voting for the first time. And there comes a sense of responsibility with knowing that your vote will have an impact in the election results. But a lot of the main issues that these students are concerned about are those social issues such as racial unrest and women's rights. But the main issue for a lot of these students is Trump. They're going to be voting for Biden not because they're enthusiastic about him, but merely because they want to get Trump out of office. And this is what's going to be driving them to the polls.
Interesting. You know, if you could tell them one thing that you'd want them to know about, you know, news, where they get their news, being a conservative, what would you tell them?
I think the most important thing is to really look at the real politics. Disliking Trump and getting Trump out of office is unfortunately not what politics is all about. I think we need to start having more serious discussions about political topics such as foreign affairs and fiscal policies, because at the end of the day, this is what really matters in politics.
Absolutely. Ophelie Jacobson, thank you very much for joining us and sharing that. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.